This is a special episode today. It's not in the live stream. We're just going to drop it in. But I'm here with my regular co host, Marcus Crawford. We have a special show for you today. We were able to get a hold of BlueSkyver, who is better known as the first person in North America to have received the Zino 2. And he has plenty of videos up. I'm sure we know a lot of our subscribers have been watching his videos, and he's been doing a great job in testing it out and answering a lot of questions. So, we're going to, spend a little bit of time here getting to know him and maybe asking some questions and so on that can help people. Because I know a lot of people are just starting to get their Xeno 2 now, and a lot of people will be getting it later on in the month. So, Marcus, what are your thoughts on this special episode?
Well, I'm just excited and welcome, BlueSkyver. Excited to have you here because you just don't know all of us that have ordered the Xeno 2 and have had Xenos before. When we saw your video, it was just like, wow, there's the real thing, So we're really happy to that you've come on the show.
Thank you, Marcus. Well, I want to introduce BlueSkyver here, and I wanted him to give a little background on, where he's from and, how he got into flying and drones and maybe what drones he's had before the Xeno 2. So welcome, BlueSkyver. And, it's going to be great getting to know you a little bit. So I'm going to start out with, just giving you a little background, into, again, how you where you're from, how you got started with drones, and so on. So take it away.
Thank you very much, Ron and Marcus, to talk with you today and with all your listeners. It has been really an honor for me to be the first person in North America to receive the Xeno 2. I didn't know, I didn't expect it, and it happened. But before I talk about the Xeno, maybe I'll talk about my background. So basically, originally I was born in Greece. I was raised in Athens until 18 years old. And then I went for university studies in another country called Belgium, and where I studied electrical engineering and specialized in telecom. And then I did a business degree. So during that, I had the opportunity to share my CV with other students from all over the world, and there was an exchange. And then I wanted to come to the US or to Canada for a couple of months just to have an opportunity to work in the industry for the first time. And then I ended up in Montreal, in Canada, and worked for a company called CAE, which is the biggest aviation simulator company for civil as well as military and even power stations. They do a lot of simulation stuff. And so I worked for them for for 2 years about, and then I met with Northern Telecom, and I was hired by them, and then spent most of my working life with them. Tens of years, and basically it was great. I grew up there. I learned a lot. I worked as an engineer in the beginning, then I went to management, and then in the end I was director of product line management, and so had the opportunity to introduce a lot of new products, and as well as travel around the world to launch the product lines. I went from Beijing to Moscow to Auckland, New Zealand, Sydney, Singapore, you name it. I had the opportunity to travel, so I love traveling. I love the world. In those days, at least, it was easy to travel. And as well as I lived in the US for a couple of years. I was mediated in Dallas, and I spent about 5 years there. It was great. And Dallas, it's a lot in the middle in the US, like Chicago, and then you can fly 2 hours flight, you can go anywhere. So I loved it very much until the telecom industry went not very well. And we can see the results right now because, the market is taken over by foreign companies. And I can talk to you about what happened to telecom industry, but I'm not going to maybe we'll do it another time, because I have an insider's view of what happened. And And then, okay, so I came back to Canada. So over here, this summer, somehow I discovered the drones. Like I discovered, that it's possible to fly the quads, because the quads you can take off and land, in a very small field, instead of using the planes where you need to land them and you need space. So then there was a lot of technology in the quads. There's a lot of Wi-Fi, 5 gig, 2 gig, and all that. And so I like that. So I said, okay, I have to buy a drone. Okay. And that was in the month of June. I decided to buy a drone. Then I analyzed. I didn't know anything. I didn't know there were YouTube channels with quads. I had no clue at all. And so I analyzed the specs. I said, okay, if I want to buy a quad, I better get a good spec. And then I found it was a lot of Chinese. Unfortunately, we had in the US, but you know what happened with the pirates were fantastic and all that. But okay, so I found this site called Banggood, and then I saw they had the specs of the drone. So I looked at it and noticed there was one drone that was licensed by 3 companies, distinct companies. So I said, if a quad is licensed by more than one company, it must be a good quad. Otherwise, they wouldn't have put their name. Plus, the specs were all there. And then I said, okay, I think I'm going to order that one. 3 weeks later, I got the drone. By the way, it was fun because it was July 4th. But July 4th in Canada is open, okay? It's not like in the US. So I got it, and then that was the Bags 4W. That's the drone here. Actually, this is the Yixing version, but this drone is fantastic. I can tell you, because first, its price is not expensive. The trick was it should not be expensive, but it should work well. And then with this drone, I flew. It can fly up to 1.6 kilometers. It goes 40 kilometers an hour. It's a little bit big, but that's good because it can fly. And the camera was not great, of course, because it's not a gimbal camera, but it's a 2K, 4K camera. It has a little bit of jello, but its problem on the camera is because the frames per second are not fast enough. Okay, so sometimes the image might move. And I flew it quite a while, and then I said, okay, but then how can I get better, a better image? And then I said, maybe I should add an external camera. But then how can I attach to it? And because this is not a very popular drone, okay, because it's not so expensive, there would not be any landing gear available. So I said, if I get an external camera, I need to build a base so you can land, because I like very much landing it manually. I mean, that's the fun, right? Not I'll get it on my hand. So then I built I bought like barbecue sticks, 3.5 millimeter diameter barbecue stick from the dollar store, plus a glue gun. I put it together. It works. I bought a camera from China as well, a Runcam 5. Actually, I listened to Mr. Baswell on his channel, and he's a great guy. And he compared the GoPro 5 with the Runcam 5 and the Foxtail Box 2. And in the beginning, I said, okay, I might buy the Foxtail Box 2 because it's you can remotely see what's going on, or Runcam you can. Then I bought it. But unfortunately, the mounting did not come with it. And I had to invent a mounting, but then made it a little bit heavier. And so I could fly the quad. I flew it, but suddenly there were a lot of wind on one of those flights, but so much, I wouldn't believe it. So when I went quite high up, the wind took it. And it landed somewhere Well, if you watch the Zino 2 stuff, there is somewhere I fly and there are tennis courts. So apparently, it landed on a tennis court. But then nobody said they saw it. I don't know. So probably it was stolen, although I did quite a lot of search. I couldn't do anything. So anyway, for a while I didn't have a drone. I reordered another B4W, but this time it was an Ishin EX3 because the price is better, although it's exactly the same quad, and I could reuse the batteries. That's the trick, okay, using the batteries. And then it came, and eventually I flew it again. The first one I had adventures of it. You know, that's why I think it's not worth it to spend a lot of money buying a drone, especially, you know, if you don't have a lot of experience, because it can end up on a tree very easily. You can end up like the battery gets low and then it lands. Like what happened to my B4W one day, the battery was low and it landed on the top of a school roof. And that's the school where you see the Zino.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I know the school.
But in August it was closed. The school was closed. How am I going to get to the roof? And I knew it was on the roof because I used the remote. And the remote, as I was approaching, it was increasing the signal strength. So I said, it's there. I could point it. It's there. So 2 days later, I decided I went to see the firefighters, which were not far. And fortunately, that Sunday, they were playing football. And then I said, look, can you help me? And then the commander said, yes, we're going to help you. You go back, and in 4 minutes, they did an exercise. They took their oldest car, you know, they brought it, they put the escalator. They wanted to try out it works. And the 3 guys went up the roof. And yes, the drone was there. I couldn't see it, but it was there. And they brought it down. And that drone, of course, the wind took it over, okay, later on. But that was one. Another one was funny because one of my drones ended up on the tip of a tree because on the top, you know, as I was starting, it lost some weight. It was a little bit in the back, trapped. Where is the? So I did something else. I want to show it because what I did, I had, because I lost the first one, I put this tello. You see it, what a tello? A tello is, you know, it's a beeper. So if you lose your keys, it beeps.
Right.
So I put that here, and so when it went up on the tree, I used my iPhone, and then I could hear it. Oh, okay. Now I knew what it was on the tree, but then I had to use binoculars. There were a lot of leaves to see it. Finally, I identified it, and then. But how I'm gonna get it down? I mean, that was 25 meters up. I couldn't go. Like I tried, but I said, oh, maybe I could get a big, you know, ladder or something. And then
you need those firemen again.
Well, the 5th day, believe it or not, a guy passed by and saw me watching with the binoculars. He said, "What are you doing?" Well, I said, "You know, I had a small quad. It's up there. I don't know what to do, but I want it back." You know, when you lose your quad, you want it back, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so the guy said, don't worry. I'm an expert rock climber. I said, what do you mean? I said, I can go up and I'll get it to you for you. I said, are you kidding me? He said, no. He put his running shoes. He got up in 3 minutes. He put the drone on his mouth and he brought it down. I couldn't believe it, guys.
Yeah. Did you take video of it?
I took a video. I have to but instead of being horizontal, it's vertical. I have to make a video. I'll make the video. I for sure.
Those 2 stories are phenomenal.
I tell you. So why? Imagine I buy a DJI drone, 3,000. I mean, Canadian is $3,500. Right. Okay, you lose it on top of a tree. My goodness, what do you do? So that's why. The price quality ratio is important.
Right.
Then I said, okay, maybe I should buy now a drone that has gimbal. Okay. Then the X12 came out, this one. Okay. And then price was good. I said, I saw some unboxing and all that. So I said, I'm going to get it. So I got it. It arrived December 1. The snow started, okay? And then, okay, I flew it a couple of times. The problem I had was how to do the compass calibration. It was different than the other ones because the compass calibration, you could do it at home if you want, and then he would retain it on his memory, but I didn't know about. So sometimes it worked, but when I went out and I was trying to do it, it would not do the calibration, and the reason is the cold. Apparently on the cold, he doesn't like doing the calibration. So I had to fly it many times on the attitude mode, as they say, which means without GPS.
Right.
And I made a couple of videos, and it was fun. And then I saw the Zino 2, and I read the specs, and I said, oh, that's good. I like it. Then I discovered Chris's channel. I started listening, and I heard about ordering to Bang, no, not to Bang, to Jigbang.
GearBest.
What is it? Sorry.
GearBest.
GearBest.
They supposedly had the exclusive rights to the first.
Yes, they had
1,250 units.
Yes, and if you are born in the US, but if you are living in the US, you get fantastic price, and so I live in Canada, so I said I'm gonna try. So I try on the channel to order it. Price $250 more expensive. Whoa! Why? I mean, this is an introduction price. You should offer it the same. And they couldn't there's two stores, stores there in for North America. So the one that could ship to Canada was more expensive. The other one in the US was less. So I said, oh, that's not good. I don't like that. Why should I? And then I remember the other thing is when somebody buys a drone, it's important to be able to buy spares. Spares, I mean, motors and everything else.
Right.
And the bags for W didn't have a lot of spares, unfortunately. So I discovered through Alibaba that if you go to Alibaba, you can search and then you find spares you might not find in big stores. And that's how. And I had bought some from my EX3. So that's how I learned there is a site called Alibaba. So on the Zino 2, I said, okay, I might check in Alibaba. And in Alibaba, I found a hobby shop in Hong Kong. And the hobby shop said, we can get you the drone by January 15. I said, okay, well, I ordered. I ordered it December 24, just before Christmas. And of course, Chris was saying, you don't order it. I wrote to Chris, and Chris said, you are dreaming in blue. It's impossible to order it anywhere else. I said, okay, well, I ordered it. So that's it. And those guys, I said, please, can you send? I started not believing that I'm going to get it because I hear all the noises about everybody else. And so I wrote to those guys and I said, please, can you send me the manual on PDF? Because I said, maybe those guys are sending me a Zino Pro. The price was very good. It was a little bit more expensive than GearBest, like maybe $50, $60 US more. But at least, it was the price and it included the shipping and everything. Mm-hmm. Yes, they sent me the manual on PDF. Oh, I said, so that's serious. That's good. But then I was trying to track. The number was a Chinese tracking number. Wouldn't track anywhere. So I wrote to those guys, and then they laughed at me, wrote in, okay, like this drone, so that you might get it in March now. Oh, I said, my goodness, what's going to happen? 3 days later, suddenly I'm getting a DHL SMS. There is a package for you. It's landing in Cincinnati. I said, okay, interesting. And you're going to have to pay customs for it. Okay. So I called DHL. I pay the customs very quickly because I know it can delay stuff. And it was not very much. 38, about 28 US dollars. 28 US dollars. Try to understand.
Yeah, very affordable.
Yeah, but why not more? I don't understand how they do that. But it's okay. And then we'll get it to you tomorrow. I said, what is it? And then they tell me, yeah, it says it's how heavy it is. It's 2 kilos, and it's a toy, a remote toy flying toy. So, I said, that must be the Zino 2. And it arrived June 15 in the afternoon. DHL rings the bell, and here the guy brings me the drone.
Oh, that's a great story.
And I didn't know, like, okay, I was the first. Huh? You know, I said, okay, I get it, but somebody else must have got it too. And then I said, what I'm going to do, because weather, you know, started getting really cold. Although in December we had a lot of days we could see the grass, and I flew the EX3, and you might see it on my channel. And January 1 I flew it again. But January 15 it started getting a little bit cold, so I said I'm gonna try the next day to fly. I never flew the Zino before. But the EX3 drone is quite heavy. It's like 650 grams. So that prepared me a lot for flying, you know, a bigger bird. And if you put the camera, it's about 750 grams. So the other one is 950. It's not much different. And effectively, it was like, felt to me like almost the same. And then I took off, and you saw that day was very cold. Yeah. It was windy. You might not even see it, you know, when I record, but it's quite a thing, like being out there, it's cold. I mean, I'm not saying the brain freezes, but trying to check all the features and everything else, and I don't see well the screen, and then time goes and the battery, you know, depletes. Yeah. So that's why you see me trying, but I cannot try everything right now. Okay. Right. So anyway, but by trying the X12 and the EX3, I learned how to fly on cold weather, and I fly from my car, warming what I do is warm the battery first, then I warm the inside where the battery goes. I warm the motor. I warm the motor's LEP, and warm the gimbal. And then I put the battery on, I warm the controller, I switch it on in the car. Then I try, it asks me to do always the calibration. I know it's not good, but I do it, so it stops asking me.
Hey, I'm going to cut you off for a second. Yeah. I just want to ask you a question about the calibration. With the Zino 2, do you only calibrate it one time, or do you have to calibrate it before every flight?
No, okay, good question. It asks you to do it. If he wants to do it, it asks you to do it. But usually I do it, you know, yeah, it asks me to do it on every flight. Now, maybe because I switch it on the car, inside the car, it doesn't get as many satellites or so, and maybe he'd ask me. But when I go outside the car, it asks me to do it again. So I do it on the top of the car. And the calibration of the gimbal, I didn't do it the first 2 flights because I wasn't sure, but then I did it every time, and I do it outside or inside. I do it. Okay, it doesn't matter. The gyro, I did it always at home, and I tried it over there, but it always works, so it's not a problem.
Yeah. But the memory. But the Zino 2 does ask you to calibrate before each flight.
No.
Okay, it doesn't. Okay.
Every time I switch on the controller for the first time, and because I'm inside the car, maybe it asks me, okay, yeah, and then when I go, I have to do. But then when I swap batteries, it doesn't ask me anymore.
I understand. Right, right.
So probably it's the app as well that keeps some data, and then as long as the app is on and the controller is on, stays on, you can fly it, I think.
Yeah, I asked that question because like the DJI drones, basically you only have to calibrate them one time. Now, if you take it far away, you may have to recalibrate. But if you fly the same spot every time, it doesn't ask you to calibrate again. If it knows where it's at, it doesn't ask you to recalibrate unless you're near metal. If you're near a lot of metal, it'll always ask you to calibrate. But if you're in the middle of an open field, you only have to calibrate that first flight.
You're right. The problem is I'm in the car and it's metal.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why it's asking me. But I need to do it so that the app is getting... in the summer, I'll switch it on when I go out, and maybe it's going to... Because I'm flying a lot the same field, okay? So I agree with you.
When does your weather start to get... warmer up in Montreal?
Warm. Okay.
Well, I mean, let me rephrase that. When does it not be winter, and when does winter end in Montreal?
Okay. Now, definitely in the month mid-March, we should. This year, like we advanced the removal of the snow tires by a month. Usually it's April 15. This year we advanced it to March 15, as well as we started in November 15. Okay, so I believe that by end of February we're going to start seeing, a lot less snow. We might get some snowstorms, but what is happening actually is that the days are becoming longer. Already, it used to be night at 4:15. Now it's 5:05. Okay, so the day is growing very, very, very much. The bigger the days, the more the warmth is going to be on the earth, and then the snow is going to melt. And it depends. If we get a lot of wind from the south, then everything goes. If you like we get the rain, the snow goes. But it hasn't gone from the beginning of January till now. Right. Actually, we have a storm today. Not a big one, but we have a snowstorm again.
I've been to Montreal in the winter, so I can attest that it gets pretty cold.
It gets. Yeah. But it's the last winters, I'm telling you, it's a lot warmer. I cannot believe it. But it goes up and down. And that's tiring a little bit because you don't know exactly how to dress.
Right.
The only time I was in Canada, I was a teenager, and I was near Toronto, and even though it was April, it still felt like the middle of winter to me.
Oh, okay. Well, Toronto for us is like Florida for you,
Exactly. Yeah.
Ottawa is worse, and Quebec City, but
right. Well, yeah. I mean, we're getting to the point where it'll be interesting to see how much better the Zino 2 performs for you once the weather starts to get milder, whether you'll get better flight times, and the gimbal will work better. But I think since you've done the firmware update for the gimbal, your horizon issue has got much better. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, in your earlier videos, whenever you would yaw it would really throw that horizon issue off, where now in your most recent videos, when you yaw, the horizon stays a lot better than it used to. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, Ron. I agree with you. Especially, if you fly for a long time without going indoors, like I did in the last 2 videos, where I went beyond half an hour. In the beginning, you see it's totally flat. Like it was so flat, like I did a yaw in the end of the orbit mode manually, and you see it like turning around like it was on a tripod. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the fun of all is on the second video, the last one, when I said, okay, maybe let's put another camera underneath. I didn't know what to do, but basically it proved that the gimbal works very hard to keep it very flat.
Yeah.
The other camera, you can see it going like that.
I told Marcus, the other camera, when you turned it, it almost looked like it was like almost going completely sideways or whatever.
Yeah.
Where the Zino 2 camera, it didn't even know you were turning.
Exactly. And then there was another phenomenon I couldn't understand. Is when you turn, you have to be like that, right? Like when you turn like this. Well, the other camera was showing the opposite. So I wonder when you do the picture-in-picture if it inverses something, because it's strange.
Possibly, yeah.
It should turn. When I turn right, it should turn like this.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Very strange. But anyway, it's amazing how much it compensates, which means that when it's not frozen. Okay, I think when it's -3, it will not frown. When it's below -5, it starts froze about 7 minutes after you fly. Now, the other thing I have to tell you is I believe the H22 chip, which is great for the imaging, if it is, and I haven't opened it like Chris has opened it yet, okay, because there's no reason to open it, so I'm not going to open it. If it's on the front, on top of the gimbal, it's in the front, and that place is not very warm. So it means the H22 must get really cold, like if it's not inside where the fan is and everything else. So maybe the image is getting a little bit darker and so on once you're below -6 to -8. Whereas on the flights where the last 2, 3, 5 flights, whatever, you can see colors a lot better because the temperature was not like below -5. And then you can see great details, which means it's a very good, like, camera.
May I ask you a question on the camera settings? But when we're watching your videos, are you mostly on auto? You know, have you fiddled with any or readjusted any of the settings, or is it just on auto?
I didn't adjust any settings because I wasn't sure how to do it, and then because I didn't have many flights, I didn't want to screw up the image. I left it on auto. I did. The only thing is I put it at 4K 30 and 4K 60 2 times, but I leave it at 4K 30 because otherwise the footage becomes too long and processing. Now, what I did is I did not process the image at all on my iMovie, except in one where I said it about it. But all the other ones are exactly as downloaded from the SD card,
right off the card.
Although it's converting it to 1080 60 frames per second,
right?
The colors stay the same. I don't adjust.
Yeah, and I'm a bit of a photographer. I'm gonna I cut Mark, so I'm gonna let him. I'm a bit of a photographer, and even I can't give you much advice on changing settings in the snow because it's such a, with that white and gray background, it's not a whole lot you could do anyways. I mean, maybe you could, but it would be hard to configure that to look any better. Anyways, I'll be real interested to see what your video looks like once you get a little more, you get less white in it. And so, but Marcus had a question to ask. So I'm going to go to him right now.
Well, just while we were talking about temperature, I went online and looked up the specifications for the Zino 2, and I'm a little bit astounded. They're saying that it's good for -10 centigrade, which I don't know of any other drone that has a specification that low.
Okay, I agree with you, but there is a thing that to say. -10, I believe it can go to -12. And -13, and even to fly, it flies, I'm telling you, like an eagle.
Yeah.
Now, the camera and the gimbal, you see, the problem is mechanical, and the motors are not as good as hard, let's say, as the motors of the drone, of the quad. So they might freeze a little bit. So on the gimbal side, and the H22 as well, it's the limit. But the drone itself is strong. It flies well. I flew it at sports mode, as you saw. It flies like so fast and so well, and it's very responsive in terms of turning and the yawing and going up and going down and going far as well. And the image is very good. Actually, it's only because I said I'm looking downwards. I should have kept it up, the controller, to be parallel to the drone. The line of sight is so important.
How, as far as its flying capabilities, how do you compare it to the other 2 drones you own? I'm gonna call it the Bugs 4, which I know you don't have. You have a different one now, a different brand. But the 2 other drones you have, and that other drone, the other second drone he showed us, Marcus, is that a clone of the JJRC Aurora?
It is.
Yeah. It's an EX4, but it's like the X12 or the EX4. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Sea-Fly Faith.
Yeah, Sea-Fly. Yeah. That's like kind of. But how does the Zino 2 compare to those 2 drones as far as its flight capabilities?
No, it's better. Yeah, it's faster. It can go up to 72 kilometers an hour.
And let me stop you for a second there. Now, wind resistance. When you fly the Zino 2, do you have any problems with the wind blowing it away from you?
No. It does. No. It's very responsive, as I said, and no.
Well, let me cut off another question. What is your typical winds up there? What when you go up to fly? What's the wind generally like in most of your flights? How hard is it blowing?
Okay, the worst was okay. I didn't show you that flight. I'm gonna post it. It was like 24 kilometers average with 42 gust winds.
Wow.
That was so windy. It was a beautiful day. Like temperature was not very cold, but when I went to the field, I couldn't understand what's going on. The wind was so strong, but I flew it and I did the orbit mode, and it worked well.
That's good to hear.
It moves a little bit now. The EX3, I would say, I'm not sure. It's a little bit maybe stable because it's less heavy. Our Zino is a little bit more heavier, so sometimes when you are in idle, it might move a little bit if it's windy because it has an inertia. Okay, but once you get it going, it goes very, and then you land it. Now it's funny with the landing. All my landings in the beginning were manual. Okay, and you notice how well it lands on the snow and everything. The last 2 or 3 flights, I landed on very strong, how can I say, strong surface. Like the snow is compacted very much.
Oh yeah.
And then I think that what's happening is the flow positioning maybe doesn't detect very well the relief as when the snow is fresh. And then it doesn't maybe know the real distance. And when I land it, it tries to land faster.
That's interesting.
As well as when sometimes now, I don't know, it tries to land and I didn't ask him to land. So either they changed something on the software, which I hope they didn't, or now the base I built, it doesn't interfere, you see, with look at it. It doesn't interfere with
the sensors.
Yeah, but unless it interferes a little bit. So I'm going to have to try it without it and to see. But
without them, yeah.
I don't know why.
Now, does the Zino 2 have precision landing? What land on exactly in the pad?
The pad, I didn't use it many times because it was windy and I didn't have time to install it. But the last 2 times I did, I tried the apron. Now, you guys tell me because I have no experience of it. I said if I use the RTH, it's going to land. But no, it doesn't land with the apron, with the apron thing using the gimbal.
Right.
Maybe I have to say land automatically, and then it's going to point it to. Is that what's the case for the apron?
So Marcus can explain. Marcus is he's an expert at precision landing with the apron feature.
I don't know if I'm an expert, but a lot of drones, if they have those downward facing sensors, that's what they use for precision landing. Now, the Zino 2, I don't know. The original Zino, because it doesn't have any downward sensors, it uses the video camera. And you cannot be recording when it tries to.
Maybe that's the problem.
You have to shut recording off, and then it will point the camera down. And what's fun about it is it puts a little target on your FPV screen. And you'll watch it search for the landing apron. And as soon as it finds it, that target turns green and down it comes. Now, in talking about the snow that you were talking about, so the Zino 2 now has optical flow sensors. And what that optical flow requires is it has to be able to see differential in what it's looking at. So if you're like they always warn you not to be careful with them over water because water is reflective and can fool those sensors. And I'm willing to bet that snow is the same way. The other thing that I don't know, though, is the Zino 2 also has that time of flight sensor on there as well. How that could be affected by the snow.
Time flight, what is that?
So what it is, it's an optical sensor. It's not exactly like LiDAR, but it is measuring how long it takes it to get that image back, and that's how it knows how high it is above the
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and the snow could maybe fool that too.
Maybe exactly. It doesn't reflect the snow at all,
Right.
so it absorbs the whole thing.
Right.
And then he doesn't know, and it goes. He thinks it
straight down. DJI warns you about that with their system.
Okay. This tells me a lot now, because when I land, even hard, I land not in the snow.
Right.
So it's. I want to ask you another thing. When you say the apron, you're landing with the apron. If you are on RTH but do not do a video, it's going to search the Zino 1.
It does.
You want to stop the video before you start the precision landing process. Is that correct, Marcus?
That is correct. And then you also have to select precision landing in the app. There is a checkbox there that you have to check and
it
say.
It says apron here. Apron yes, apron no.
Oh,
and then I'm not sure which way I have to turn it. Like when it becomes white means it's on, or
I always get confused too.
Or it's black. So with all this, and it's cold, you can imagine.
Those are the kind of things that you can figure out with experimentation. But like you said, if it's cold out, your fingers start to get
And when the wind's blowing your apron away, it's nothing you can do.
No, and then I saw. You put the sticks, but on the snow they don't stay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the other thing.
Yeah. You're really fighting the conditions.
Exactly.
Hey, I do want to ask you one question, and I got to explain this. A lot of other drones we fly, Wi-Fi based drones, when you fly them, we'll say a couple 100 meters away from you, the picture still is working, but it kind of gets fuzzy and it's not very clear. Like we have the Parrot and Nafi drone. It's a great little drone, but if you fly, you say you get 500 meters away from you, you still have control of it, and you still can see the picture on your phone, but it kind of gets fuzzy and it doesn't look very clear. But I've noticed on your videos, and I think L3 Toys, who has the Zino 2, and he's in Malaysia someplace, when it seems like you guys get a couple 100 meters away, the picture still stays clear. Do you see the same thing? You probably have the breakup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably the same problem I'm talking about. Probably the image gets real fuzzy as soon as you get a couple 100 meters away, correct?
Yeah. The EX3 or the B4W, I get that, what you say. Okay, now, the trick is the following. Usually the drones at 2.4 gig, they can go farther because the frequency is such it doesn't attenuate very much. Okay, so for the controls you use 2.4, so you can go. Well, I tell you, this guy, they spec it 1.2 kilometers to go away, and they say the image is 1.2, but that's not true, because if you look at C-Fly Faith, you can send it up to 2 kilometers. And there is a guy called Chad. I don't know if you know him. Chad flies in the Washington area.
Oh yeah, Chad B. Yeah, he's a great.
And he tried it, and he went 1.7 kilometers in the beginning. I said, I cannot believe it. Yes, it is because the spec is 2. And then what he had this line of trees. So he flew it at 120 meters. He went at 1.7 kilometers with this. He could see even the image, okay, but then the trees, they block the line of sight, and you have to have 80% clearance in order that you get really the signal. He did the same thing on the X8. He flew it very far, but not as much as expected. Why? There was a bridge, was like a metallic bridge, which blocked the signals. He could have gone. Now,
I saw that video. That was a good one.
Yeah, the 5 giga. Being at the 5 giga is better if you have a good transmitter, because there is less interference than the 2.4, where everybody has their Wi-Fi's and all that. But the only thing is you need to have a real line of sight, which means you have to, once you start losing it, always go up, and then the image is going to come back and everything else, okay? But of course, we cannot fly higher than 120 meters. That's the
right. Same thing here in the U.S. Yep.
Exactly. So, but I'm gonna fly it. You see, I went to the river, right, for the first time. I'm gonna fly it all the way on the other side but in the spring or the summer, not now.
By the way, that was one of my favorite videos of yours when you were out at the river. I really enjoyed that one.
I tell you, things went very, very fast, and unfortunately, my friend could not, video all the. Like he was videoing, but he had stopped it on the landing, so we didn't get the whole thing. It was very windy. The landing was amazing because it was getting lateral wind, and I had to land it on a small, but it landed so well. So it's amazing. I love this drone.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I'm going to say, Marcus, just from what we've talked here, the Zino definitely passed the wind test. It won't get blown away.
Yeah,
now, the Zino 1 is decent in the wind, but it's not outstanding like what this one sounds.
This one is heavier, so because it's heavier, the wind cannot play as much with it, and then of course the motors might be stronger, so that's as well very good. You asked me a question wrong before. How the three drones compare: the X12, the EX3, and the okay. Now I would say this one, the EX3 and the Zino 2 are comparable. Now this one has different flight characteristics. I'm very well surprised how well it flies. It's not as heavy, it's around 450 grams. The other is 650 and 950. Okay. It doesn't fly as fast, maximum 36 kilometers an hour though. Okay. And the thing is, it has cinematic features included when you fly it, because you cannot yaw it very fast. It would resist yawing because, otherwise the gimbal is not going to follow. So it has different way of flying, but I like it very much as well. It makes a very good image. And if I had between the DJI Mavic
Air
Mini and this is half the price. I mean, okay, the DJI is great, 249 grams, it's amazing, but anyway, I mean, this is half the price, and it can do as much as well. Hopefully, the calibration is gonna work when it's warm weather. You're gonna find one day I was so pissed off with this calibration. I said maybe I have a problem with the gyro or the. So I went to the GearBest site and I ordered the GPS as well as the gyro modules. They don't cost very much. It's $9 whatever. So I got them in. So I said, I opened it. It's funny how it is. To open it is not so easy. You open it from here and there. You remove the flaps, then you remove the screws, and then there's another screw in the. And then inside you have to once you remove this, you have to remove this tape here, and then once you remove, there's 3 screws. Okay, you open it. Then when I remove the cover, and then there's a connector. 2 connectors. I try to remove the one connector, the one of the GPS, and usually, on the EX3 I can remove it no problem. On this one, I tried to pull it, and you know what? It was so much attached to the connector on the board that the whole thing came out. And now it's without GPS. My goodness! So what did I do? I went to the Banggood side now. The X12 drone or the X4 has most spares of all the drones. Here it is. Okay, so now it has the connector here, and I'm going to, the connector is attached, so I'm going to replace the main board. Hopefully it's gonna work.
Wow.
So, but just
it'll be interesting come spring when you could do a video where you could compare the X4 there to the Zino 2. How they perform and.
I tell you, if you go to my channel, there is a playlist for each drone. You can go to the EX4 drone, and sometimes I put it on the information on the Zino 12. So if you go there, there are about 9-10 flights with snow, with wind on the X12, and you're going to see the image. And I think it's good. I mean, but in the spring, absolutely, I would like to try them, as you say. Yeah.
Now, gentlemen,
just while we were talking here, just for the fun of it,
Yeah.
I looked up the EX3 on Banggood. They have it on sale for $139.99. And just as you said, BlueSkyver, if it's somebody that has never flown a GPS drone and they're curious about it, wow, what an easy way to get started. And you're not going to get the best video, but you're going to learn how they fly and how they work. I just think that's great.
And if you need parts for because you have some kind of accidents and crashes, it sounds like they're readily available at affordable prices.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the trick is if you go to the jig buying site, they have a lot of spares already. Even the jig buying has, unless go to Alibaba and get it on a hobby shop, but even the jig buying site, like you get batteries now, which are like you can get the X11 batteries, which are cheaper than the X4. $10 cheaper.
And they're the same thing. Yeah.
Speaking of batteries, now you got the kit where you got 2 batteries with your Zino 2. Is that correct?
Yes, and usually I want to buy more batteries, but this time I don't want to buy more batteries. I'm telling you, it's enough.
Yeah.
Every battery, even on the cold, it flies more than 25 minutes.
Yes,
more than 25 minutes in the cold. That's crazy.
Your fingers are cold and you're done.
Yeah. So
and as I said, it's funny. The last time, you see, there's 2 videos I made one after the other. So on the Orbit mode, I flew with the battery 1, and then when I did the sport mode, I flew with the same battery. It flew a lot, but then it says battery depleting. It says 40%. I said 40% is not enough. That is not a lot. That's the first time it does that to me, because I had flown it down to 20. You can see on other flights, on the other flights where I had the screenshot on the park, and that's fine. And I landed at 18 or 16%, right? Or 11 when I landed. No problem.
Now, in the Zino 1, when it gets down to about 25%, it really starts to bug you to land it, doesn't it, Marcus?
It does. It wants you to come back and land it, like you said, very early, like 25%. It's really bugging you to
yeah, it's but okay. What happened with the Zino before 25? It wouldn't bother me, but the last time when I did the sports mode, I think the depletion rate started being quick because of that.
Sure.
And then it measures probably the depletion rate. And although it was at 40%, he said, you have to land. By the time I landed, this 40% had become 37%. And it was so 36. It was not, when I started charging the battery, it was 25%. Like only 1 light was on out of the 4.
Right.
Which means the battery was depleting faster because and it knew, the quad knew. It said, don't fly too much because it's going to maybe deplete fast and you're going to be in the middle of the air.
Yes, so it's got an algorithm in there that knows what the battery is, how far away you are, and it knows.
And it's an intelligent battery, I guess, as they say, probably, because.
Yeah.
And the other thing, what I'm amazed, I never seen it on a drone. The batteries charge so fast. 1 hour and a half, and you have this battery which is huge.
So that's I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, that's great news.
That is a vast improvement over the original Zino. This is no joke. The original Zino, if you use if you don't just have a separate hobby charger, if you use the charger that came with the drone, 4 hours to charge a battery.
Okay. Well, this is what I get on the X3. So that's why I have 3 batteries.
Yeah.
On this one, it charges so fast, so I said, and then the controller now. The controller, the battery, okay, 1 flight, it can be 3/4 to, no, it could be half or 1/3 depleted. So with 2 batteries, you get 1 controller charge. Okay.
Okay.
Now that surprises me a little bit.
I don't know, like that's fast for me because I'm not used to to have batteries to like the X12 controller. I can fly 10 times.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Well, remember, Marcus, that LCD display on the Zino 2 controller is probably eating extra juice. We're used to on the Zino 1 did not have that screen, and the Zino 1 controller lasted, I mean, for many flights. But I bet you that LCD panel is eating some of that battery life up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that. And the other thing, what is happening is the Lias 2. the new, transmission system,
Yes.
it transmits up to 8 kilometers, okay? So normally in engineering, what we do, we use an automatic level control, ALC as we call it. So it knows how far it is and it would not transmit more than it needs. Okay, like the cellular phones have the same. So then they don't create interference between them as well. So, and it saves a lot of battery life. But I don't know in the Zino if the level control is very fast or it's not there. So maybe it transmits very high power and then of course it depletes. Okay.
Yeah.
But, okay. Of course, if it lasts for 2 batteries, that's enough.
Yeah, I was going to say that's perfect. If as long as it can get the 2 batteries through, that's perfect. Because, like you said, I'm probably not going to buy more than 2 batteries because I'm not going to fly more than 50 minutes in a row, anyways.
So Ron and I have this conversation all the time, BlueSkyver. We have enough drones, and just like it appears that you do as well. I don't need a bunch of batteries because I've always got another drone I can.
Yeah. No, I agree. The only thing is, if you need a battery, you better have it because it takes a month.
Oh yeah, that's true. Very true. Yeah.
The other, I tell you another story, and I never said it on anybody, but the first time I flew it, I went out. I said, what I'm going to do? Okay. I brought the apron. I put on the apron. Unfortunately, a lot of snow went to the apron. I didn't know what to do. Anyway, I put the drone. I tried to switch the controller. I said, what the heck is going on? I said, maybe it's empty. It cannot be empty. Okay. I take the drone, walk back to the car, go inside the car, put the worm, switch the controller. It works. Oh, I said, that's good. Okay, maybe I didn't press the button. I go out, switch, everything was switched off. Try to switch it on, the controller, no. Oh my goodness. I said, I'm never going to make the flight today. I'm not going to make my video, whatever. I went back to the car. Then I said, okay, I advanced the car a little bit. I stopped. Then I said, I'm going to switch it on the car, like the drone on the car. And it switched on. And then I said, I'm going to go out. And I went out and everything stayed on. And then I went and flew it out and for the first time. And it worked. Oh, you should I didn't understand what's going on. And I said, maybe the controller maybe has a temperature sensor and it doesn't like the cold, but the drone had no problem.
Right, just the controller.
I think the controller is a bit more sensitive between us, okay? But it's great. It works, and you can see the different. Now, the I would say the lighting or it's not great. So I don't know if there is a lot of light from the sun, how easily it's going to be able to see the. I don't know that yet.
Yeah. We
dark now, but
that's always
somewhat to be expected. Yeah.
Right.
We'll see, but it's good to have it. It's good to have it.
So I have a question about that controller. So, I've got a DJI a Mavic 2, and it has all that information on the controller. But what I find is I never look at it because I'm looking at my FPV, my mobile device.
Yeah.
And very seldom do I ever look at that. So I'm just curious your experience with the Zino 2. How often are you actually looking at that little screen?
Well, I started looking into when I wanted to change speeds because I thought I can only look at it there. But then I found out I could look at it on the iPhone screen. So that's okay. Now, the thing is that if your phone goes off, or somebody calls you, or whatever, you still have the other screen, you can look at it. And apparently you can fly it, even if your phone is off or something didn't work. But then you cannot change the parameters because the screen is not there. Like you can change all the parameters, you can change with the buttons, but
right. But they're not there, so you can't do it, obviously.
Yeah, so that's a good answer.
I can tell you this, though, with regard to the original Zino. So when that first came out, there were a lot of people that had all these kind of issues with flyaways and stuff. I didn't have those kind of problems. So I decided I'm going to prove how robust this little drone is. So I went out to a local lake out here. I flew it out over the lake. I just pulled the connector off my phone off of the controller. Sure enough, here comes the Zino, and I had my landing pads in, and it just comes down and lands, So then I did it again, and I said, okay, here I'm going to try this again. So I got it out there over the lake. I turned off the controller, just shut it off. Here comes the Zino right back, and it comes down and lands. And then I did the same thing. I turned off the phone, right? Just shut it off. And same thing. Here it comes back and lands. So they build a lot of fail safes into these things. The only thing that could bite you there is if there's a tree or something like that. And so I would set that return to home really high up there to avoid that. But anyway, the point I guess that I'm trying to make is that they are way more. There's a lot more fail safes in there than what you might believe, or what you would think compared to hearing some people talk about their drones.
Right. Marcus, we got to ask the most important question about the controller before we move off the controller. And you know what I'm going to say, Marcus.
I'm afraid, yeah.
Does the sport mode button work on the Zino 2 controller? If you hit that button, it says sport mode. Does it actually make it go faster?
Oh, yeah. Look, I mean, it's adjustable, the speed, okay? I think, cinematic mode, it's 1 meters per second. I almost never used it, okay? But it's there.
Right.
When you do the orbit mode, I find it goes very slow. So you can increase the speed. But what I do as well, I use the, not the throttle, the other one, the one on the right.
Right.
And I press it this way or this way, and it would, turn faster a little bit. But not as fast as this guy. So, but that's okay,
Yeah. Well, why we ask that question is in the Zino 1 controller, the sport button never worked. As far as I know, it still doesn't work.
It did nothing.
So it was
nothing. But that's all right.
It was a pain point for a lot of people.
Here it works. Because when you are in normal mode, it goes up to 10 meters per second. And I think that's adjustable as well. Like you can say go 70% of that speed max or something. When you press the sport mode, it says S immediately, like you have to 1.5 seconds, then you can see it. It says S instead of N inside the phone screen as well as on the controller. And then you can fly it faster. Now, the fastest I went, because of wind, because of temperature and all that, is 15.7 meters per second.
Yeah, that's
go 10 on the other one. So it would easily go beyond 10, 12.
Yeah, 15 meters per second. That's about what, 32 miles?
It's 54 kilometers an hour, 56 kilometers an hour, the 0.7. And it can go up to 72. Now, because the base has some resistance, I'm sure, and because the temperature as well, maybe it needs normal temperature. This was very cold. Then, it didn't go to that speed, but it goes faster. I mean, you can see it flies like that.
The folks at L3 Toys at the Malaysia guy flies it. He has just posted a video, I think just today. He had it up just a hair over 19 meters per second. And I did the calculation. That's about 43 miles an hour. So
he's flying almost like a Mavic 2 level.
That is very similar in speed to the Mavic 2 and the FIMI X8 SE.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is great.
That's flies very, very fast. I could see there is a difference between when I put on sport mode, it goes double than this, almost. So
right.
The X3 drone. Just a second, I want to say something. It has a fantastic controller. It's exactly like the Mavic 2. Like the screen here, it's an OLED screen. It has, for the price. And then you can mount the phone over here. These antennas don't work. It doesn't matter. But any can fly. You can see tests. People checked it on the desert. 1.9 kilometers it went. Okay. So this is a great drone for $139 US.
It's just phenomenal. Yeah.
Right.
And you mount an external camera, as I said, and it's almost like having a gimbal because it's very stable.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. I'm going to ask you a tough question.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to a two-part question. What do you like most about the Zino 2, and I don't want to say what do you like least about the Zino 2, but what would you like? What do you like the best, and what would you like to see improve the most on the Zino 2 through like a future firmware upgrade?
There is so much. Okay, what I like about Zino, and that's why I decided to buy one. I like the fact that they built on experience. They evolved the software, and whatever good you have seen on Zino and on Zino Pro, it's even better improved on Zino 2. And then this is refined. I love very much the fact that you have the how you call it, the log, the flight log. I never seen that on a drone before, and I put it, and then you can see the whole flight simulated on a map. That is superb.
I didn't even know it had that.
Huh?
I didn't even know it had that. Thanks for.
Well, I'm telling you, every flight I do, it has all registered. I said, my goodness, this is amazing.
It's like a DJI drone. They all have that feature.
The DJI has it, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, so that's why I'm saying Zino did something excellent because now there's competition. So I like the fact that, okay, DJI has excellent drones, all the good for them, but they have 75% of the market, and there is so much competition. Now, because Zino came out with this, now they compete with all their gamma of drones. Then, of course, in the US, Scadio 2 came out. Okay, fantastic. And the EVO, I'm not sure if it's totally US or it's half and half.
Yeah,
there is no competition in Scadio 2 and then EVO and the Zino are putting. So DJI have a lot of features, but they don't get them out because nobody's competing. Now they're gonna have to.
They're going to have some competition, no doubt about it.
There is improvement that they have to bring because otherwise, they can't compete on the price anymore.
And that's it. That's what Hubsan has always brought to the table is that value is just tremendous. I even tell people now, if you want a stabilized camera drone, the original Zino you can buy for $230. I mean, my God, that's...
I saw it for $215 today.
Yeah.
And I think that's why DJI came out with the Mini, because they wanted to sell something at about the same price as the Zinos and the other affordable drones.
Yeah, and no, the trick, and I love that. Okay, it's that the 249 grams.
249 grams, yeah,
which is important in Canada.
No, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's one thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is this drone. Okay, this drone that comes that it's how is it called? V-copter, or I don't know.
V-copter.
Yeah.
That thing, the 249 grams coming out as well.
Yeah.
The only thing I want to see, because I see it moving too much, and then the gimbal has to be a lot stronger than all the other drones.
Yeah.
I'd hate to see you fly that thing up in your weather in Canada, that V-copter.
Sorry.
I'd hate to see you put that up in that wind and snow in your weather.
Yeah. Well, but it's funny because like with two helixes now you can go twice faster, twice longer time to fly.
Distance, yeah.
Here's what I would say about that.
Just let me give an update. Just yesterday, news came out that the V-copter is delayed. Shipping is delayed until March now, so they're behind. For some, I don't know the reason, but they delayed shipping.
They're going to have to adjust. These two things that I see it moving too much now. Somehow, it moves always like that. It's like a bird and the other drones are not doing that. Okay, so I don't know about the gimbal. That's one thing.
Marcus actually held the V-copter at CES in Las Vegas.
Oh,
yeah. So I went to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas early in January, and I went to the V-copter booth and got to look at it. But they did not. Most of the other manufacturers, they would have a cage where they could fly their drones. The V-copter did not. They did not have a flyable version of it there, but you could pick it up and look at it. My concern is this: if that 2-motor solution was really, really viable, somebody like DJI likely would have taken advantage of it already. So I hope they're successful with it, but like you, I kind of have concerns, and we'll just have to see, won't we?
And Marcus, weren't you concerned with the quality of the remote controller on the V-Copter?
That's the other thing. So the V-Copter controller, I picked it up and played with it a little bit, and it felt toy grade. It felt like my original Zino controller. The original Zino controller feels like a toy, and that's how the V-Copter controller felt too. But who knows? That I guess that it could fly fine. We'll just have to see. But they did have the smaller one, the 249 gram version. So we'll
Did you see it like turning the helices that one?
They had a static display where it was hooked on a base.
Yes.
And they had the props turning. But
okay, it's turning. So that's okay. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That is going to be quite something.
It is. But let's get back to the second part then of the question. What, with the Zino 2, what would you like to see improve through a future firmware update from Hubsan where they fix or improve a current, we'll say, issue or problem with the Zino 2?
I tell you something. I was very much pleased. I'm saying exactly what it is. To be able to upgrade this drone while I was in the car. I trusted it. And every time I did what it said, it did it. And I did all the upgrades, most of them in the car, because I didn't know that there was a new load. Even they were on Chinese New Year. The loads were keeping coming. I said, what's going on here? The last time I flew it, it was the gimbal. They had 2 gimbal upgrades. The last 2 upgrades were 2 gimbal upgrades. I said, I'm going to do it, and did it. And so there is even another one that came out, but I couldn't fly it, the last time. But I upgraded them. So that's great that you can upgrade the software,
through the mobile device. Yeah.
Very unfortunate that Chris, who knows so much the Zino inside out, wanted to try the computer. And the computer upgrade, as well as he did, the other ones worked. But when he did the computer upgrade, it freezed them. That's terrible. It's so unlucky. But anyway.
Well, back to the firm upgrades. Like, Marcus and I were kind of in your shoes with the Zino 1. We are among some of the first people in the U.S. to receive the Zino 1, and we got the Zino 1. It had many issues. The camera was blurry, and it did the Hubsan drop. But anyhow, Hubsan was very aggressive, pushing out the firm upgrades. And after a couple firm upgrades, they got the camera fixed, and they just continued to upgrade all the way into we got ours in the winter of 2018. By the spring of 2019, through nonstop firm upgrades, they had ironed out a whole laundry list of issues with the Zino, and we have to give them props for just constantly fixing things.
Yeah, to the point now that it's a really nice drone. The original Zino, it's they've got it refined.
I saw it on videos. Okay, really, I liked it, but I remember people saying, "Oh, maybe it's not so strong," and the plastic was not. Well, this guy here, this is
it's a whole other level.
Believe me, you made the right choice getting the Zino 2. What's confusing for many people that are beginners in the quad industry, if you looked at the Zino line, you would probably get confused. You would probably say, if you wanted the best, you'd probably say, well, I'm gonna get that Zino Pro, because just by the name, you would think that was the best. Where the 2 is actually by the best one. So the naming could be a little confusion to people that are new to the hobby or whatever.
That's true. But I would, if somebody starts like flying, I would definitely recommend the EX3 to start.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You can break it; it doesn't matter. You buy a second one, and that's it. And then you go to the Zino.
Yeah, I totally agree that to be a beginner in their first drone's a $3,000 DJI drone, that's probably not the wisest thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted as well to share with you, that the EX12 has a good controller. The controller is good. It doesn't have a screen.
That's great.
But it hooks to the phone through the Wi-Fi. It's a 5 gig. I like the idea of 5 gig. Like the control is 5 gig as well as the FPV. Okay, So then you don't get interference, and as long as you have line of sight, if you lose line of sight, increase the height. The only problem I'm afraid with the drones is one thing, is if they decide, let's say that it was interruption, like, and they don't come back because somehow the battery is low, and then they decide to land. Like I got on the roof.
On the roof of the school.
Yeah. So then if you are somehow over water and it does anything like that,
you're in trouble then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, there's one thing I forgot to ask you, and I maybe you said in the video, and this is more or less for people that are new to your channel. What phone are you flying the Zino 2 with? Is it an Android device or is it an iPhone?
No, it's an iPhone, and they have on the iPhone they like the first release of the software was on iPhone, and then 10 days later they released the Android. I do have an Android tablet, and I downloaded, and it works as well. You know, I have a Galaxy Tab 2, Samsung, and but I'm using my iPhone.
Which iPhone do you have?
The iPhone X.
Okay.
So it
works very well on it. Yeah, exactly.
Fans right here.
The Pro, the 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I had the 10 before I had the 11. 10's a great phone, so more than capable of flying probably any drone out there. I
want to ask you guys one question because you are so experienced. One person wrote me to try. They said the droney mode. Droney. What it means, droney?
So that is a pull away shot. So if you are standing there and the camera is facing you,
yeah,
the drone goes backwards and up away from you.
Okay.
You get smaller so that's called a droney.
And he may be able to draw the box over himself so it keeps him in focus.
Okay. I guarantee you that there is there hopefully on the Zino 2. I haven't looked at the
I think it's there. It's there.
Yeah. And they may not call it the droney.
No, exactly. They don't. Yeah, so I didn't know what it meant.
Now, the only thing, the warning is because the Zino 2 doesn't have the obstacle avoidance sensors, when you you just make sure there's nothing behind you. Like you, but I mean, you can go in front of a building, but you make sure there's no building the way it's pulling away back from you. Make sure it's an open field. Like for you, go out down an open field. And where they're completely open, that's where you have it fly backwards.
Yeah.
I'll ask another 2 questions. Okay. One day I tried to fly the Waypoint. Okay.
Right.
So I never tried Waypoint on any drone before. So even to draw it, it took me time. But I found out. Okay. So I drew it. And then it started going. I said I'll stop it, and I brought it back. That was a little bit strange because I could see on the map really like the perimeter of the park I am, and I drew it there. I couldn't understand why it went.
Well, that's a good question. Now, the Zino 1 had waypoints, and they were pretty simple to set up, if I remember, Marcus.
Yeah, it worked really good on the original Zino. I mean, there's just too many variables there to really know what happened, but. Yeah. It could be a setting. There could be another.
Oh, yeah. And it was cold, and I couldn't see very well. I said, the other one I tried one day. I said, okay, I'll try the follow me mode. But then, it was looking at me, but I was not sure. Maybe it was too far. I have to bring it closer before. And then I wasn't sure. I was pressing the screen, my person on the screen.
Right.
So that the square comes out. It wouldn't come out. I couldn't understand why. Then it was cold, and I stalled. I didn't do it. But
yeah,
and it may not be with you. It may be something that needs a firmware update to get it working better.
Okay.
Or even in the cold, the capacitative discharge touch on the screen.
But if you touch the screen, the square should come out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't come out at all.
I'm just.
I was using my gloves too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may. Yeah,
other experiments you can do in the warmer weather, right?
Yeah. You'll have a lot of videos you can do coming up as the weather. You said by the middle of March you'll be much better off.
Yeah,
as far as weather. Yeah. Spring.
We'll get again. April is gonna be fantastic. March, we'll see. And February we might get some grass eventually, but it might snow again. And always snow comes from the west. Okay.
Well, I promise.
You are both of you in Idaho, or
I'm in New Jersey. Most of our snow comes down from you guys or whatever. It comes from the north and the west down to us.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And all the cold weather comes out of Canada for us. If the wind blows up from the seaboard, eastern seaboard, that's all warm, muggy air. But the cold, dry air comes out of Canada.
Oh. Yeah, when we get like the cold coming from the North Pole, there's no mountains. Okay, that's in Europe. There are mountains. There are the Alps,
right?
And then that's why the Mediterranean.
Laurentians, right?
Huh?
You've got the Laurentians.
Oh yeah, but the Laurentians, like that's nothing. It's
they're hills. Yeah.
It's not the Rockies,
We're the same way in New Jersey. We're a seaboard state. We're as flat as could be. There's nothing here. But in the summertime, it gets very hot here. We love when the air comes out of Canada in the summer because that cools our hot temperatures off, whatever. But then that'll happen for a few days. Then the warm weather will pull up from the south again, and then we'll have to turn our air conditioners back on again. But when that Canadian air comes down in the summer, we get nice and cool, open the windows up and go outside.
It's funny because in Europe, in Northern Europe, like I live there in Belgium, as I told you, there's no light. Like until 10 o'clock in the morning, they get the lights in the streets. In the winter, it's gray all the time. Even in the summer, in Canada, it's cold, but there is light. I mean, there is sun coming out. The snow, I see it like sand. It doesn't matter,
right?
Because it's not very wet, the snow. Okay, so and in the US too, there is light. We have a lot of light. Compared to what in Northern Europe have, my goodness. Like Montreal is at the height of Barcelona, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So they are even northern, okay? So, yeah.
So I'm thinking about this. So you have to be trilingual. So you've got Greek and you've got French from Belgium.
Oh, yeah.
And then English, of course.
Yes.
That's awesome. I grew up, my mother, her family is from Spain, but she also has some family in France, and so she was trilingual, right? Spanish, French, English. I never picked up any of it. I speak English. It's sad. I shouldn't be admitting that in public, but yeah, it's sad.
Well, speaking French really helps you in Montreal, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I came to okay, let me tell you the trick. I came to North America. I wanted to come to US or Canada for a while because I wanted to train my English. Okay, I could read, but I was not speaking so well. So I came. I said, okay, maybe 6 months, and I stayed 2 years. Well, in the end, I stayed 40 years, and I love it. That's what it is. But my wife, my second wife now, Josephine, she's from Mexico, but from European parents, and she speaks Spanish.
Yeah,
and so it's really fun.
That is interesting. One thing I noticed about Montreal is, I mean, it is French. I kind of thought, well, French Canadian, there might be English subtitles or anything. Nope, it's all French. Yeah.
Well, okay. They had to not speak French for quite long, so it went the other way. But now, actually, tell you something. Montreal is really bilingual.
Right.
Like one of the most bilingual. They speak English and French. And at school, they learn it, and that's great,
Yeah, of course.
It opens a new world, like speaking a language. It's always a plus. In the US, there's a lot of Spanish, too, now, so which is good as well. Learning another language is good.
Right. Where I live in New Jersey, there's only 2 languages spoken, Spanish and English.
Okay, well.
There's a lot of Spanish people here, so that's the 2 predominant languages, and nothing else is even in the conversation. You run into somebody speaking something else, there are tourists on holiday. So
we've got about
John, we've gone about over an hour now, so we better wrap this up because nobody's going to watch it much longer than this. So, do you have any? If we didn't cover anything you want to talk about, that you want to bring up at the end, go ahead right now. I just want to tell folks too that in the notes for this show, I will put the link to BlueSkyver's YouTube channel. So if you're not already subscribed to him, click the link below, and it'll take you over to his site. Go over there, subscribe, watch a couple videos, ring the bell or whatever. If you're interested in Zino 2 at all, or the other drones he talked about, he's got plenty of content up there. And I'm sure if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them, down below in his videos, and he'll be sure to get back to you. But on that note, if anything we didn't cover that you want to bring up, or you just want to pick your final thoughts, go ahead.
Very quickly, I want to say that if you subscribe to my channel and you write to me, I always respond to you. You're always going to have a response to your question. And please read the video notes. I always put things on the notes that I could not say. Okay. Now, the other thing I would like to say, it's first about the quads. The way I see the quads is like in the Middle Ages. You remember people had falcons? They had their bird, the falcon. Well, our days, the quads represent the falcons of the Middle Ages. Okay, that's one thing.
I like that analogy.
That's very
Now, the other thing I would like to say is that we enter a new decade. 2020, it's a fantastic number. The previous number was 1010.
Right.
And the other is going to be 3030. So this new decade, there is 4 things happening. One is the advent of the batteries, and then we have electric cars. There are going to be a lot of electric cars, okay, this decade. So that's going to change the way we transport ourselves in this century. That's one thing. The second thing, the quads started being a reality, and now not only for flying for fun, but they're going to be quad taxis, and they're going to come quite quickly. I think in San Francisco they talk about Uber getting quads to fly, and in China they already have some produced with 6 or 8 helixes, and they fly. So I think this is going to happen because the batteries are there. They're going to be the Teslas of the sky. Okay. The other thing is we might get to Mars with Musk and with Amazon, the Orion. So that's the other thing. We might get by the end of the decade to Mars, to Mars, which is gonna be great. So these are the things, and then the internet, because the internet started in the 90s, but right now it's happening, and all commerce goes through there. And now the malls, the shopping malls become like warehouses for the internet. Is going all that way, and because the commerce is more global, and they ship the products from everywhere. So these are.
Being you were telecommunications, do you think the 5G will be a big thing going forward?
The 5G is going to be a big thing. They have to install incredible amount of new cells because they are smaller.
Small, yeah.
I think I agree with the administration. I don't agree on many things, but I agree absolutely with what they say. I think maybe we should make another thing if you want on telecom. But need to protect somehow, because whoever on the 5G, imagine like you're on your car and you download the software and somebody doesn't like you, stops the software download, and then you are on. So we have to be very careful on how we deploy the networks, and I totally agree with
that's a whole other show.
Yeah,
that conversation is a whole other show. Yeah. So, well, Marcus, do you have any final thoughts or questions for BlueSkyver?
Yeah. So you brought up the Uber taxi. So when I was at CES, I spent some time. I actually got to go to CES because of my YouTube channel. I was able to get a press pass. So I actually got to go as a member of the press. And so I was able to attend some presentations on autonomous taxis flight, and got to see some of the mock-ups in person. And you're absolutely correct. People do not understand how fast that is coming and how it's going to revolutionize our everyday lives. Travel is going to be, if you want to go from a suburbs to a downtown area, you're going to be able to hop on one of those things and get there very quickly, as opposed to dealing with traffic and all that stuff. So I just wanted to throw that in there. It's very exciting. And
it's going to be exciting. It's the 2020s are going to be an exciting decade.
That's right.
Well, absolutely, and thank you. I remember I looked already some of your says. I'm going to go again to look at it more, Marcus. And then, yes, the Scadio features, imagine, like, we have to have them on these taxis, because otherwise the FAA is going to get crazy. I don't know how we're going to regulate all this flying unless there is autonomous driving and the obstacle avoidance 360 degrees, because otherwise, how do you do it?
Initially, they'll have a pilot on there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they said just for they figure for the first part of it, and then they'll get beyond that. But most of all, I really want to thank you for coming on the show. This has been such a great conversation, and you really regaled us with some really fun stories of your drone experience. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, both of you, for spending time with me and sharing from your great experience, which you have greater than me, of course.
Yeah, I definitely want to thank you so much for coming on. And again, you've been great. Again, like Marcus said, you've told some incredible stories and shared things with us that nobody else would know, because we just don't have the drone and some of the experiences you've had. And I'd love to get you back on, down the road, maybe springtime, when you're actually able to get it out into some more scenic areas and capture some real dynamic video with it. And by that time, Marcus, I should have ours, hopefully, or whatever.
Yeah.
And we kind of compare notes on the Zino. Would you be agreeable to something like that coming back on?
Absolutely. It would be a big pleasure talking to both of you. I learned so much and share, and that's the pleasure. That's the pleasure of flying and sharing and be together. I mean, we're a community, of flyers, and that's great. It's a great sport, and have great fun, and flying is not only flying, but you have the videos as well, so cameras and images, and so it's interesting.
Right. Everything looks better from above, when you're capturing it, than standing on the ground or whatever. And you said we're a community, and we need to be a community, because we didn't touch on this in this show because it wasn't about that. But in the U.S. and Canada both, there's a lot of rules being put in place that maybe aren't so good for the hobbyist pilots like us or whatever. They're kind of catering to the delivery and the big businesses. Again, that's a whole can of worms we don't want to get into here, but we need to stick together and kind of protect our rights as hobbyist flyers.
And the supply, that's the other thing. I want to see more North American suppliers come up, like Scadio. We need that, and I think we have great ideas in this continent. And let's get going. I mean, like Pirate. Pirate is a fantastic company. Unfortunately, everybody copied it, and you know the story.
Right. But okay, well, again, thanks, gentlemen. It was a great show tonight, and so we're going to come back in time and do another one, compare notes and whatever. And like I said, the link to BlueSkyver's YouTube channel is going to be down below. In the comments, he said, already said, go over there, subscribe, and you're gonna, if you're interested in Zino 2, that's the place to be. So that's about it for tonight or today, and we'll be back with our regular show on the next episode. So goodbye, everybody, and thanks for watching.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.